Where
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
want to start? Do we want to start with that bastard who pretended like he was stepping down, or do we want to start with Trump taking over the country?
The governor, you mean?
Ah, man.
Stepping down?
Well, the governor said he was going to quit if Look at that, eh?
We've had so many new mics. I like that. Thank you. That's better than the hat
It's better than the hat.
because it's just so much more legible.
We're selling so many hats. It's
When people
unbelievable.
see the sweater, then they'll look up and they'll be like, Canadian real estate show. What's that?
It's truly remarkable.
Really, it
how
just should
many
be
we're
Canadian
selling.
news. I mean, really, we just talk about everything, you know?
It's true.
Real estate's
Well,
so narrow, you know?
well, it's funny because you said that there's
Hot
a lot of
topic.
stuff going on. Are you able to hear me? Are we having a
I hear you
delay?
great. You're fantastic. Loud,
Oh, okay,
loud and
good.
clear. Yeah.
So you said that lots of stuff going on in real estate, and I was kind of like looking at the news and all the topics on my list, going, "Hey, that there's not really much about real estate going on right now." And I mean, I know I'm busy, but what I'm doing has nothing to do with the real estate market right now, right?
No, but there's just lots of things going on that people are talking about and stuff, right? So,
Well, what
I
are we
mean, when you
talking
start
about?
talking about the amount of mortgages that are going to be renewed this year, that's another topic right now. 1.2 million mortgages going to be renewed in 2025.
Yeah, is that
Talking about
news?
delinquency rates coming up,
Yeah.
talking about obviously the biggest news you could possibly have, which is the Prime Minister of Canada resigning,
Well, yeah,
you know,
that was kind of a big deal. I mean,
right?
we have such a great guest today that I mean,
Yeah.
I really want to try and focus a lot of these topics on,
Yeah, the fact that the prorogue of the parliament
prorogue.
means that the capital gains tax wasn't
There's a
officially
lot of
signed off, so like they're gonna still like collect it. The CRA will still collect it, but hey, like
hey,
that
we
could
don't need
change all of a
rules.
sudden. If
We
a new
don't need
government comes in, they
rules.
may just be like, listen, you know what? We don't need to get that royal assent signed.
Well, I mean, I guess that has something to do with real estate. I suppose
Sure,
that should
capital
have,
gains.
yeah, capital gains. That has something to do with real estate. I mean, have you seen, before we get into all the real estate jazz and we start talking to our guest Luke from Market Mania, who I
Yep,
imagine
friend of
all
the
of
show.
our, yeah, friend of the show. A lot of
Yep.
our fans probably like him a hell of a lot better than they like us, which is quite all right. I think I would agree with them.
Uh-huh.
He's got a fantastic channel. I mean, he's not the most positive guy on the planet, but he
I won't call him that. I just say
well,
that he
he's not.
definitely knows how to find the risks in the market,
He
better than
definitely can
most.
highlight the
Yeah,
risks
really
in
knows
the
how to
market.
highlight those.
Yeah, so I mean, from your perspective, TK, we've all seen that classic bubble chart where it inflates and deflates, and there's the
What
fear.
stage
And
are
there's
we at now, Daryl?
Well, TK, this is my question because, Luke has been talking about it a lot lately, and I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll bring it up because I
yeah.
mean that's his job. But
In
where
retrospect,
are we? I mean, like
I'll
in
tell you.
retrospect,
10
you're gonna
years
tell
from
me?
now, I'll let you know where we are
Oh,
on
I see. I see.
January
So
2025.
you're
It's just
not confident that you know where we're at in the
I'm
cycle,
confident that nobody knows.
that
That's what I'm
nobody
confident.
knows.
That's what I'm
Well,
confident in.
so the thing is with these predictions, I mean, they could take years and years and years to come to fruition.
But
And
thousands and thousands of views will come in on every one. So hey, good for us, the Canadian Real Estate Show. We tell it how it is. We're good guys, Daryl. We're good guys.
well,
We
we've
may not have
been
the most followers, the most views, or the best outfits. Now, I think we're the
two out
only
of
ones with
three ain't bad.
merch. I think we're the
Listen,
only ones with merch. So we got the best merch.
Are you looking for the best merch store on the planet? Well, we got the shit for you. Coming in at low prices where we barely make any money off of whatsoever, you can get the greatest real estate merchandise on this platform. Just look at this very flamboyant man putting on this great stuff. He looks great, he's dancing great, and boy does he look sexy in that merchandise. I tell you, buy this for anybody, you buy this for yourself. You will be not only repping the greatest Canadian real estate podcast in this world, but you will also be looking hella good doing it.
I forget what I was going to say, but it seems to me that the real estate market in Canada is still very murky. The stats came out. They look horrendous, right? The stats for December.
Just like flat,
Horrendous. Flat. They
Flat.
didn't look too flat to me.
Flat. Prices all came down this year.
Well, prices was a little
were
flat.
Up a little bit.
Sales were kind of flat.
We got lots of listings.
Lots of fucking listings, though. That's for damn sure.
It wasn't that overwhelming for me. I guess just because I've been digesting it for 1 month at a time this year.
1 month at a time.
Yeah. But hey, look, this is what we're in. We're in 2025. 2025 is absolutely going to be a fantastic year, okay, for people in the repo business. All right, it's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be a busy year.
There's a whole bunch of people who aren't making those payments out there.
There's a whole lot of people that are choosing food over paying for the car. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, park your car in the garage.
Sometimes you can still have the car and drive the car and have the car insured and not pay for the car and
get a good 6 months out of that. You can put on like at least 10,000 clicks.
I'm not this is not financial advice. Okay. Consult with a professional, but there are ways to get away with doing. I mean, if you stop paying for your car, TK, and you know that the landlord tenant board's a little fucked up and you stop paying your rent, I mean, you can save a considerable amount of money if you're okay not having a good credit score. Right? Have we added the rent to the credit score?
So Front Lobby is a company. That's the one that I always recommend, where they've got services to chase the person, like 30-40% they'll take as far as collecting the arrears. They will be able to file I'm not sure if it's under public records or how it's filed under your credit bureau, but it will show as a debt to the landlord. So if you can get a judgment. So I just had somebody recently get a call from a tenant 2 years ago. They'd gone through Front Lobby, and Front Lobby was able to put it on the tenant's Equifax, $6,600 in arrears. And 2 years later, the tenant had to get some sort of loan. And they were like, we want you to pay this off. Otherwise, we're not going to give you the loan. He called the landlord and said, I'm sending you email money transfers. I guess whatever his limit is. I don't know how he did that. But he sent the money to the landlord, the $6,600 on the credit bureau, because he needed to do something else in life. And I guess he had turned his life around. And 2 years later, he's no longer a deadbeat tenant. Now, I just had a call from a client. And usually when past clients call me, usually I'm thinking like they want to, refer me to somebody, or they got some more real estate to sell. Like that's usually the topic of conversation that I would get when someone calls me who have sold, over the years, right? Well, this one wasn't such a great conversation. She was like,
"What?"
Well, she was like, "I got a letter from the buyer. I sold a rental property." She's like, "I got a letter from a buyer, and now they're upset. They might want to sue us because the tenant never paid them rent." Now, so I looked over the APS. We didn't warrant that the tenant was good or bad or anything like that. They just basically said, "How much does the tenant pay?" We said $1,800. The tenant, was a good tenant. Like I talked to the tenant a bunch of times. He was always straight up to me. Like but he was a con artist in my eyes.
He was straight up to you. He's like, "Hey, TK, guess what? I don't pay my rent."
Came across as like, I'm genuine, and yes, this new landlord, I'm going to treat her good, and I'm the best tenant. Like he never once was like telling me his plan, but who would, right? So anyways, long story short, I guess he never paid his rent. And so she's owed $9,000, and it's been, I don't know, a while, and so she finally got him out, and she wants her money. And
did this buyer ever
threatening letters to my client? So I had to tell my client, just chill.
Did they do any due diligence? Like, did they talk to the
Zero.
tenants? Did
their
meet
agent
anybody?
Did zero job.
Check
when you sell rental properties, don't just buy with the agent who tells you they know what they're doing because they can sell homes. There's a lot of due diligence that you should be doing when you're assuming a tenant. You know,
Yeah, when you're
you can do
assuming
full. You can
anything,
ask for
when you're
full
doing
credit check.
anything.
You can ask for income. You can ask for warranties that they're in good standing. They haven't been served any notices.
If they
You
want to
can
sell the
do,
property, they're going to answer all the questions that you can come up with,
or you
right?
know something's up,
Or you
and you
know
can
something's up.
decide on how to go forward. And if the tenant doesn't want to provide that, then you can ask yourself, do I really want that tenant as my tenant? So it's yeah,
Well, that's a whole other kettle
there's a
of
lot of due
fish.
diligence to be done that
A
wasn't
lot
done.
of stuff that needs to be done that a lot of people didn't do over
Yeah.
the years. It has compounded and it has turned into a market mania, TK.
Let's get them on.
Really, I mean,
Let's get them
yeah.
on.
What is
I'm
the
tired
point
of
of
going in a circle here, Daryl.
uh,
The fans want.
yeah, they don't want us
They
anymore.
don't
It's
want us.
enough. It's enough. We've got a good guest. This is the only, I mean, we really don't want to have guests, but like,
Certain
Luke,
friends of the show, we
well,
are like a little bit more, lenient on.
he was going through something a little while back where YouTube had
He
kind of
moved.
demonetized him. And so he
Oh.
was having a whole bloody
It's,
thing. And
it's
so
probably his VPN.
he
And
fixed it, right? He fixed it already. But so now we're basically useless. We were going to come and try and save the day for you, Luke, with our gigantic reach,
yeah,
and we were gonna get
we were actually
YouTube.
telling YouTube that we would actually leave the
We were
platform
going to leave YouTube if they were
they
going to
didn't let
remonetize
if they didn't
your channel.
remonetize Market Mania. But
But
I don't
then,
know. They didn't
uh,
return our emails.
Thank you, man.
You
They didn't
dealt
return our
you dealt
emails.
with it on your own. Like you probably should, because whatever you did is your fault, I'm sure, since you're the only guy on the show. What happened? Like, what did you do? Did you threaten to kill someone?
No, it wasn't anything like that. I still don't know what happened, and it was just like one of those weird situations where it was obvious that it was like some error, but you never knew if that's just the way they wanted it to seem like. And yeah, it was super strange, but I think the only reason I actually got it back was just because of the reach through X and like
Right.
basically just keeping tweeting about it and everything like that. But I mean, the scariest thing is like if they take you out through AdSense, like you're banned for life from YouTube, essentially. Well, you can never remonetize any channel ever again.
You have
No
to start a
way.
new channel.
No, not even a new channel. It's like
No,
he's
you
banned.
can't. That's the scary thing. It's like if your channel gets deleted, okay, you just start a new one. But if you get demonetized and they disable your account, you're done. Like it's crazy.
Oh my God.
Serious stuff.
Serious stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Right?
listen, I
Well,
was gonna
not to
say it would likely be just one of those dickhead anonymous bear accounts from Twitter fucking around with you, but those guys probably love you, right? They're not gonna take you down. Those are probably your best fans.
They probably
those
got you your money
motherfuckers, right?
monetization back.
Those
right?
guys that are waiting
Yeah, anonymous
for my
account.
right? They're waiting for my demise, waiting for me to go bankrupt, right? And they're probably like they love you because you talk about the bubble bursting all the time, right?
Well, let's just get an
Yeah.
update quickly, okay? So, Luke, the last time we talked to you, you were leaving Canada. You were like
Yeah, yeah.
about to leave. It was like maybe within a month or two away. So, give us the update.
What should the people do?
What?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
Yeah. So I left. Like, I talk about all the things on my channel, and people probably think, like, why does this guy live here still? And I don't. Like, I left because it's just the reality is, like, the cost of living, everything I talk about on the channel was, like, coming to head. And, like, I work online. Like, my main profession is, like, IT and engineering, and I've had my own business. So, like, I was just like, well, I work online anyway, so why am I in Canada now doing this and putting up with like the high cost of living, the weather, just everything, the political environment, like the rising crime, like it just goes on and on and on, right? And I left and I came here to Panama, and it's
Panama.
funny because
You're gonna get annexed too at the same time as us.
yeah. So I might be going like on the run soon. I might have to make like a plan C now because my plan B's become plan A, and now I got to make another
Don't
plan
go
B.
to Greenland.
I was
okay?
just, I was just
Well,
talking,
you're
or
becoming-
anywhere in the Arctic, okay? Yeah.
But Canada's becoming the 51st state, I thought.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
well, listen, it's either going to be us Panama or Greenland from the sounds of it.
Sounds like
Or,
Greenland has got the least chance of keeping their independence
yeah, I mean,
by the
there's
sounds of things. I was just talking to a client yesterday about Panama. He's on his way there in like a few weeks. He lives down there, and he says like it's like the bee's knees. Like that's like the place to be, you know, and that the people, the locals are accepting, and that there's you know, that type of environment is conducive for, you know, what most people are looking for when they're leaving US dollars, right?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of English speaking people.
Not
No?
so much. Well, yeah, there's a lot of expats. It depends where you are, but yeah, you're right. Like
The
there's
locals
tons of Canadians.
Okay. Okay.
I thought I
Yeah,
saw
so-
lots of high-rise buildings getting built around there, aren't there? Wasn't there like
Oh,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
building boom in Panama?
Well, there was, but like that again was like a bubble back in 2008. We could talk
Yeah.
about that and
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
burst, and
For
like
sure.
it still has not recovered from 2008 in Panama City. Like half the skyscrapers are empty there.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
see
it didn't
that. I
make
can see
much
there's a
sense
bunch of
at the
people,
time, right?
a
Like,
bunch
it
of
was
Americans and Canadians thinking like this is the dream spot. And Panama's the new
it's on
fill
the
in blank.
water. Let's go. It's cheap.
Yeah. It's only
Crazy.
$300,000 US dollars. Oh my God.
All right, so you moved to Panama. Now you're thinking about leaving because you're going to be annexed by the states as the 52nd state, maybe. Okay, well, let's talk about all this crazy shit going on here in Canada since you are Market Mania of Canada. Where
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
want to start? Do we want to start with that bastard who pretended like he was stepping down, or do we want to start with Trump taking over the country?
The governor, you
Ah,
mean?
man.
Stepping down?
Well, the governor said he was going to quit if and when something happens and they pick a new leader in he didn't say election. He said something that sounds like an election. So he was like in a countrywide some form of event, you know, like
Yeah.
not voting, but something has to
Trump.
happen.
Start with Trump. 51st state. Luke, go. We want to hear from Luke more today than us, Daryl. Okay, Luke, 51st
asking
state.
him.
Talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really going to happen. I think probably a lot of conservatives in Canada, like real right conservatives, would probably agree, like, yeah, that would be a good thing. And like, if you take out the artificially drawn line, as Trump says, then maybe it would, like, hypothetically. But Trump says a lot of things that just contradict itself, like all politicians, basically. But Canada actually becoming the 51st state in reality, like, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
What would it look like though, if you would say, okay, it's going to happen? What would you think the ideal scenario would be like?
I mean, the ideal scenario, I just can't imagine it happening, though. I mean, it would, the best I can imagine is like Alberta joining as the 51st state, but I could never imagine like the entire of Canada doing it. And obviously that would be for the resources, right? The natural resources. It would be so that they could basically just have that relationship with the US, because obviously a lot of natural gas and, well, pretty much all of the natural gas and pretty much all of the oil is going south to the United States. But, you know, one thing that was correct that even Pierre pointed out in the interview with Jordan Peterson is the fact that it's sold at like heavy discounts. I mean, that's
Heavy
why
discounts.
the industry in Alberta is like so garbage as it is right now, because like you would have expected when oil was over $100 a barrel, like it would be booming in Alberta, and that was the narrative, right, to get people to buy real estate in Calgary at that time, like a couple of years ago. But I knew people in the industry, and it was not like that at all.
No.
Not like
Well, right now,
the price of oil, like the booming business of the oil companies, you mean? I mean, at one point it was like that.
Yeah, it was like that was back in 2014, 2015.
Yeah. I think you're right, though. Alberta would be the one place, if there was any province that the U.S. would want and that they would want to leave. Right?
Yeah.
That would be the one.
I mean, can you imagine Quebec joining the U.S.? Like, I can't envision that at all.
no.
Not a chance.
But, I mean, they do really screw us on this deal. Like they do pay way below market. And then not only that, they refine it and sell it back to us at a profit as well. right? And so I don't know if you saw, but China kind of said, if they're gonna dick you guys around, like we're interested in buying all of your stuff and getting deeper in with Canada. And like I keep saying, we're so resource rich, we should be like Dubai. Like we should,
Yeah.
if they're going to tax us 25%, why can't we just, like send it to China or send it to Germany? Or there's a million places that want this stuff. And we're even begging during COVID, and that son of a bitch, he cock blocked everything. Right. And all these, right. Um, do, is this just a big negotiation to get our price even down further? Like, what's the goal, do you think, of this whole thing?
It's I don't even know. Like I've kind of been took back by the way Trump has acted, like since basically he's been handed the mic and he won the election. Like it's crazy, like some of the shit that he's coming out with. And like I know a lot of people who support him, and I know a lot of people who hate him as well. So I see both sides of it. And like I'm not like a Trump fan. Like I think some things he does are good and other things bad. But when you look at like, I mean, a lot of the people who hate him, like they kind of describe him like a dictator or an authoritarian. Well, I mean, the way he's acting and saying these things definitely is coming across like an authoritarian. But obviously, his supporters are really loyal, and that's part of the issue. And he really is good when he's like handed the mic. So, I mean, that's part of the problem as well.
So Trump for Canada, good or bad for our economy?
Oh, bad. What really bad? Yeah, like it's not going to be good. I mean, the tariffs, the 25% tariffs, I've already heard from people who have businesses in Canada and they've outright said if the tariffs come, like I'm leaving. I'm taking my business. I have to leave. Like it just wouldn't work. My business operation would not work. So, I think that's a little bit of an empty threat. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't really think people understand tariffs either. Like, it's not like America wins when they put in a big tariff. Like, somebody has to pay that cost, and it's the people in the States. Obviously, Canada, the idea is that they're going to make it like everything's just going to move to America, and some stuff like to the States would move back to the States, I'm sure. But how much is that going to cost? And then that's going to be built into the price of the goods if they're sold in the US. So it's not like a simple thing that you can just click your fingers and then move everything back to the States and everything's going to be great. I mean, I find it kind of hilarious, to be honest, this whole nationalism thing, because it's like with the canal in Panama, like Trump is going, oh, yeah, like most of those ships are going to the US. Yeah, what are they full of? They're full of Chinese stuff. Like, so the ships are going to LA and then they're coming round and going through the canal to like Miami and Fort Lauderdale, full of Chinese goods. Like the majority of goods that are passing through are Chinese. And then you've got like he was saying, and he said some things that like are just totally wrong. And that's where it's like, man, this is I don't like this. Like I don't like the way he's acting at all. But it's just like, and with Canada, and it's like, geez, yeah.
He's a
Anyways,
little naive, I think, in some areas, and so he talks because it sounds good, but he doesn't really understand. Like, I'm pretty sure I heard that 70% of U.S. imports are from Canada. Like, it's a big number. So it's
yeah,
like you
yeah,
can't just say I'm going to tax 25% of it. Like that would actually punish the U.S. economy probably more than anybody else at first, right? So I think
exactly,
and the whole
exactly.
51st state, whatever it would be, referendum, annexation, whatever you want to call it, like there's no real legal way to do that, right? Like it's just like you've got all sorts of international laws in place. Like it would just have to be Canada that would decide to do that, not like any other way about it. So, anyways, he's good at what he does, though.
Well, he's
Yeah,
certainly got
yeah,
everybody here stirring around, talking about this thing, making
Yeah.
videos, freaking
yeah,
out, getting on the defensive, and some, I guess, are starting to get on the offensive. Like, I don't know if you saw TK's buddy Jag Meat. Look, here's the deal. If you really care about protecting our country and Canadian jobs, commit to responding to Trump's threats with retaliatory tariffs. I've already committed to doing so. Will you, Pierre? And I mean, he's a big tough guy, and he's, all for Canadians, obviously, right? He's definitely looking out for the best interests of everybody. But like, are we really going to start getting into a pissing contest with the United States of America in an economic like war here? A tariff back and forth?
Yeah, well, you know what happened in the 70s? That like a lot of what happened in the 70s and the inflation that was seen was because of the trade wars and embargoes that were going on during that time. So if you want to like think about what's going to happen if this actually happens, then it's going to be a lot more inflation, which just isn't going to be good for anybody.
Where do you think inflation is? Let's say U.S. Canada trade relationship is silky smooth. Where's inflation going from here?
I think it's going down, especially in Canada, and that's mainly happening because the economy is going down, right? People are spending less, the unemployment rate is going up. You've got a lot of people coming into the country. There's not enough jobs, so there's a lot of dynamics that are going on. But overall, like demand is going down. You're seeing rents fall as well. So I think inflation is going to continue to fall, but the reality is this isn't a good thing. And this is what I say on my channel, because the reason why inflation is falling is because the Bank of Canada has come in and like just pounded the economy. And the thing is, people think that they can just unwind that and the economy is just going to inflate again like a balloon. It just doesn't work like that in reality. And you look at any historic example and it's exactly the same thing. But in this case, you've got just so many bubbles because it's not just the housing bubble, like immigration is a giant bubble in Canada, which was unsustainable. And that's also like now starting to show signs of bursting. So it's like all these things seem to be coming to head at the same time. And then you got the stuff going on with the US. It's just like shit.
What about the stock market and Bitcoin? Why are they doing so well right now?
Well, the stock market never prices it in until the last moment. I mean, the bond markets, the yield curve inverted like way back in 2022, and this is going on to be like, I mean, the yield curve has uninverted now. So the reality is normally when the yield curve uninverts, and it did so last year, it's within 6 to 12 months you're in a recession. Now, Canada has already been in a recession. Like,
For years.
I mean, yeah, for years, since 2022. It's just purely the immigration numbers that have propped that number up. So
I was going to say, what do you think like the percentage of the GDP was over the last few years, like Alec, from all of the school scams and the immigration scams? Like how much right? Because would we even have had any positive growth if we didn't have that shit going on? Nothing,
No,
right?
no way.
Nothing. So like how much of a difference that have we felt even the difference from that unraveling yet?
Well, I think David Rosenberg, he said that even just this is just immigration. So it's not counting all the funny stuff with the schools. It's not counting all the spending from the immigration because they come in, they need to buy like furniture, all these different
You
things.
got to pay
Some
those
people are buying-
brokers thousands of dollars, right? That are bringing them in and giving them a
So,
mattress to sleep on.
exactly, and all that's GDP. So, and I think he said it would be like -2%, and that was in the third quarter of last year. So, I can't remember the number that we were at for maybe it was 2% year over year. So you're talking like a big difference, and then GDP is not even accurate in the first place, and this is one of my biggest things that grinds my gears. And I hope people, and the reason why I do the channel is partly because of this reason, is I hope like people through education find out the way the system works. Like all these numbers, inflation to begin with is like It's a lie. Like, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
The inflation is not below 2% right now. But if we had an accurate number there, the GDP numbers that are deflated with inflation, they would be more accurate. The central planners making the policy rate decisions for interest rates, they would be more accurate. But because everything is corrupted and the whole system is corrupted, it's like doomed to
Stories.
implode on itself constantly.
Yeah.
So
It's
they
just
suppress it.
stories and
They
like
suppress the
Yeah.
inflation numbers.
sure they do.
But
I mean,
it
look,
affects.
how many people are actually in Canada right now? Like, we don't even know how many people are here. We certainly don't know how many people are unemployed or partially employed or, stealing cars for a full-time good actual living. Or I'm not kidding. Like, how much are those kids breaking into jewelry stores coming away with when they steal 18 Rolexes, right? And God knows how many diamond rings from those displays. I don't know if they're real or not, but they seem to be happening over and over and over again. These are lucrative gigs, man. I'm pretty sure. So
They sell those things for 10 cents on the dollar.
yeah, but
Who's
then
gonna buy 'em?
insurance replaces them for full pop or even probably a profit to the stores. Like, there's so many things that spin in the economy from all these other fucking crazy things that how can we actually navigate anything with any of these stats? Because they're all wrong. Like the M2 money supply is wrong. Every number that we see is completely fictitious. Okay. It's telling a story from somebody's perspective that they want out there for us idiots, right?
But
So
give me an example of an economy in the world right now who has the system churning right now in the right way.
in
Give me
the
an example.
right
Yeah, I
way.
can't-
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right?
How's El Salvador doing these days? They seem to be
There's a few countries right now who
they're
are starting to do
Bitcoin
some really,
billionaires.
far, reaching ideas in order to try to get their country on back, only because there's been so much corruption and tyranny in their countries that it's just like any little bit of positivity we're hanging on to and like, yeah, we're back on track. Let's go Argentina, But like really, like it's a sad world we live in. It almost feels like the whole entire global banking system has just been pumping this bubble over and over again. China's prices are down like over 50% in some areas. What's going on right now in the UK? What's going on right now in Europe? Like everybody is just
Fucking nightmare everywhere.
pressed to the limits. Like I'm surprised Luke even found a place to go to that met his standards. To be honest, when you listen to Luke's videos, you're like, he must pick a. Like I think he wanted to go to Singapore. Was that right?
Oh no, Singapore's way too expensive for me.
Was that the place though that you had mentioned? When you had,
No, Malaysia was one
Malaysia.
of the places.
Okay.
Malaysia.
Okay, there was a place that he had mentioned, and I think you told me it was too expensive, but you said like, they got it going on. So I figured wherever Luke goes, like that place has got it figured out.
I see
Canada
some-
doesn't even have it figured out. Nobody's got it figured out, right? And so
No.
our expectations of, I guess, our government are too high. And then and
Yeah,
that interview
yeah.
with Pierre and Jordan Peterson's a great interview, just to see
Great
how far
interview.
we've come off. Because really, you know what the benchmark is for the whole world? The U.S.
The U.S. Hey.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
We
Yeah,
want to know
so-
how they're doing.
So true.
Well, but I mean,
Yeah,
we
no, it
came
is.
out of this whole thing looking like way bigger clowns than them. So I mean, what does that say about this place right now? Okay, because they had a puppet, like a literal meat puppet that couldn't use his brain as the president. Okay, followed by that shrieky woman for God knows how long, right? And we are worse than that shit show, right? And so hold on. Now that we got all this Trump shit going on, now we don't have a government to deal with it for the next 3 months. So how does that play out, Luke?
It does not look good. I mean, it's just, you just look so weak because basically you're going to become the political punch bag of Trump now because he knows like there's nobody to respond
You can't
essentially.
fight back,
And
right?
well, yeah, and like Trudeau is done. Like he knows that, so he's just going to continue to use Canada as a punching bag. And the Canadian dollar's got absolutely smashed over the past year. Like I was looking just the other day, it's down like over 16% since the highs in 2021. Like that's a big decline for a major currency, and other currencies have gone down as well. Yeah, sure, but the Canadian dollar has gone down a lot more.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
When I looked at the airport exchange for I think it was 62 cents or something like that after all their fees and their horrible
Oh,
rate.
after their fees. That's
Yeah. I'm
crazy.
just saying, this is like the
God.
airport, the worst place to exchange money is 62
Yeah.
Yeah.
cents.
Yeah, it's like 72, I think, at the moment now, without like all the fees and
I don't
all
think
the
you'll get that
horseshit.
though. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll be
we're
under 70.
but
So how does this play out with Trudeau? So he's, the proroguing of government, what's going to happen over the next few months?
did he step down?
Well, yeah, I mean, he should step down. I don't think he's going to, though. And it's not the first time I've been looking into the history of this. It's not the first time the Conservatives did it back in 2008, which is ironic considering everything that's happening with the economy right now. And they did it back
Mm.
2008, 2010. So it's happened a bunch of times. But I mean, yeah, it's just going to mean that nothing's going to happen, essentially. The same shit is just going to carry on and we're not going to go anywhere. And like, that's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty grim reality right now that Canada's having to face up to.
Can we tariff them back if they're on this prorogue thing that everybody now knows the word prorogue, which is crazy? I didn't know it like last week. Did you?
No, I didn't know. I was
Oh,
like, prorogation? I
what
was
is
like,
this shit?
what the fuck?
Right? No, but
But yeah,
how
no.
do we fight back when there's no one that can fight back? We're just going to pay
Well,
tariffs? What if he's really
yeah,
serious?
yeah, I mean, nothing's going to happen. It depends whether that happens because I think Trump's threat, what was it now? It was to do with the border, wasn't it? That he was going to implement that
Originally.
tariff if the. Oh, okay. It's
Originally
probably
was if
changed.
the border had to get secured and the fentanyl had to stop coming through the border, and that would stop the tariffs. But now he's on a fucking like he's literally trying to merge and acquire, all these other resources around the planet, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's nothing behind this. I mean, we do have a considerable amount of stuff. So, like, if you're
Yeah.
heading a dying empire, I mean, you have to find ways to grow your dying empire as you're inflating the currency into oblivion, right? And so, how do you do that in a business environment? You're going to merge and acquire with maybe other
True.
dying right major corporations so that you can keep the zombie corporation alive for longer, right? And so if you look at it that way, I mean, Canada's a great fucking pick, right? Because look at all the shit we've
Yeah.
got.
And the
Yeah.
world stage right now with Putin and the war in Palestine, like I think like now's the kind of opportunity for someone to get away with things that they probably couldn't have 10 years ago,
Rearrange
right?
the pieces
And
Yeah.
a
so
little bit.
it kind of makes like, it kind of makes it a little bit more real, right? When we start thinking about it like that.
I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like we've been called traitors for just talking about the idea of becoming part of the United States, but there's Canadians who are like, "You motherfuckers, you got to stand back. You got to fight for this country, okay? You got to fight against those fucking Americans." And I'm like, "With what? Like, what are we gonna
Yeah.
do
There's no way.
if they want this place? Like,
Let's
right?
be honest, one day it'll happen. Maybe at that point in time, it'll be all of North America, South America, all like just the United States of whatever, right? But eventually that's going to happen. I've known that for years, my whole life. I've always looked at the situation and be like, really, America's going to take over the whole world. 100
No.
years from now, one way or next, America will own one part, China will own another part, Russia will probably own Europe. Like it's just the way things go.
No, Luke
governments.
knows that we were supposed to be part of Kanzook.
Yeah.
Do you remember
With the
Kanzook?
UK.
It's
Well,
like
that was with, like,
Canada, New
New Zealand and
Zealand,
Australia and all that kind of stuff.
Australia, and the
Yeah,
UK
but
was going to be this big trading partner.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I mean, they still kind of are because of the connection to the monarchy, but there's just no benefits with it. In fact, there's more disadvantages, as we just saw with the prorogation. Go to the governor general, who's part of the monarchy, and they just say, yeah, done.
yeah, yeah. And also just the logistics of all that too doesn't really make it easy, right?
It'll make it easier.
No,
Well, let's talk about
but-
some real estate stuff. So, Luke, what's going on out there? What are Canadians facing right now as
Where
a
are we
challenge
at?
in the real estate market with their homes?
Well, yeah, I mean, fact is that if you look in these major bubbles like Toronto and Vancouver, it seems like the markets are outright crashing. When you look at some of the losses, are just completely insane, especially when you adjust them to inflation. But I mean, the reality is it's cost of living crisis and people have too much debt. It's not like the overall thing is it's a debt bubble. It's not just a housing bubble. So it's not just individuals.
Explain the difference.
It's also yeah, so it's not just individuals, it's also corporations. Canada has one of the most leveraged corporations, like it's over 300% of GDP is like private debt, which is just private businesses. That is more than households, and it's also more than government. But the thing is, people like attack the government about how much they spend. And believe me, I'm no fan of the government. I hate the government. But like households, they're even more leveraged than the government. So people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And then the private sector is even worse. But the thing is, a lot of the leverage in the private sector actually goes back to real estate. If you look at what's that building in Toronto that's not getting built, like that $1 billion skyscraper at Bloor and Young.
Yeah, the one.
The one?
Yeah.
So you look at that, like developers going bankrupt, like there's billions of dollars. And it's those type of things, like those are where the leverage is hiding. Like Canadian banks have just loved real estate for the past couple of decades. And that's really just been a shit show for Canada because all the investment has gone into real estate and it hasn't gone into like production of new goods and services and private businesses because people are like, why am I going to start a store and try and compete with Loblaws when I can just buy houses and flip them? Or I can just buy land and speculate on that. I mean, we saw that Greenbelt just shit show that happened with the mall acquiring land before that. And then it all got kibosh.
It's crazy.
I might have benefited from that, but
Was that the answer? Was that the answer, though?
Let's move on.
Your podcast at that time about that.
Yeah.
You see, this is a source for news.
There you go. We got all the inside
Exactly.
scoop. So
What a reach.
what you're saying is that it's not just an issue with the fact that prices are too high and that we really don't have enough buyers to maintain and sustain this level of pricing, but that there's actually more debt out there than just that's secured against housing. You got private debt. Obviously, the government's debt puts a strain on the services that we're going to have. Private debt puts a strain on what businesses are able to do as far as adding in new equipment and manufacturing and hiring new people and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't a lot
Households,
of it
because they're
backed by
carrying
real
debt,
estate?
they're not able to go out for dinner and do all these kind of things. And so it just puts this huge strain on the economy. How long does it last? Like, I mean, how long can we really make these payments for?
Aren't those business
Well-
loans tied to the houses too, though? Like, aren't most of
course.
them guaranteed by
Yeah.
the... Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're tied to whether it's condos, housing. Yeah, a lot of it is tied to that. And I mean, how long it lasts is really hard to say because Canada seems to have really long cycles. So if you look at the past 2 years, I would say it's really been that denial phase. And that was one of the things. So great question, great timing. Over the past couple of weeks, I've actually been looking into like, where are we?
Where
in
are we,
this?
Luke?
And I think we're heading into that fear. And once you're through that, I mean, even during the fear phase, that's when there's actually opportunities there, but it's going to be difficult to suss them out because it's going to be like trying to catch a falling knife. But the problem, which is always the problem in these debt bubbles when they implode, it's not about whether people are there and they want to buy. It's the fact that they need leverage to buy and the banks don't want to give them that leverage. So there could be thousands of buyers out there that want to buy and, they've got 5%, but the banks just don't want to give it to them because they've had their hands just completely burnt by the past 4 or 5 years of collapsing prices, developers going under and all of that.
Yeah. Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change? Anywhere in Ontario, guess what? We're hiring. Franklin and Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all RE/MAX teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold. throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Franklin Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call. We've definitely seen a major change. I mean, the people who are buying right now are just like, they need a roof over their head, right? There's no more speculation in the market. There's zero investors looking out to, get into the market because they think it's a great time to buy and that they're trying to look for real estate as a hedge against inflation and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't exist anymore, right? There's a lot of new policies, right? So we've got increase to the CMHC insured mortgages from $1 million up to 1.5, 30-year amortizations, like there's things
Lower
like that.
rates too.
Rates are coming down,
Right.
How does this impact the market? I mean, is there a policy that's going to save the market? I guess is the right question.
Is there an interest rate?
Or
Like, what's the trigger?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like all of these cycles, like you have to go through capitulation in order to get to a recovery first. And it has to revert back to what people can actually afford and get to a point where just nobody wants to buy. And when you say, like, oh, I'm investing in real estate, like people just laugh at you. And that's the time when it's a good investment. And people probably think I'm some kind of a perma bear, but that's not actually the case. Like, I think real estate is a bad investment in Canada, but I have like my eye on other countries that are growing. And you don't have to just focus on one country and think, oh, I have to invest in a property in Canada. You could rent in Canada, or own a property in Colombia or wherever you want. And there are countries that are growing and they're actually going in the right direction. Whereas Canada, the UK, all these countries, they're just all on the way down. And that's going to be the trajectory for decades, unfortunately, because it's just the cycles that you go through. I'm not trying to be like depressing or anything like that. If you look at or you read into history, it's just the way it goes with, like you said, with collapsing kingdoms and everything like that, imperial powers.
You don't think Canadians are drunk on Canadian real estate? You don't think that they're just dying for someone to tell them that real estate's a good investment again? Because let's face it, I mean, like every time we've had you on the show, the background story is the same, right? But like, there's just like, why isn't it crashing? Like, why isn't it absolutely tanking, right? I mean, it's just sort of like slowly going down. Why are people still buying, I guess is the right question to ask.
Well, for the past few years, it's like I said, it's been denial. A lot of people are in denial, and that's what you get into when you get a big pullback. The first thing is people start to think, well, it's over now and it's just going to continue onwards. But like, what are people looking at in the future and thinking, okay, like the economy is going to expand, so we're going to have good jobs growth? Like, if you are investing in real estate, then you'll look like, let's say we just take some random city in the States like Atlanta, and you look at that and you say, okay, what's going on with the economy? Like, how diversified is it? Is the unemployment rate going up and down? When you actually start to do like a fundamental analysis on where you're considering investing in, then you have a background to what you're doing. Whereas if you're just saying like, oh, I think prices are going to go up. Like, I mean, that is literally speculation. Like, there's no other way. So if people start going in, I mean, sure, I guess it could expand again and the bubble could get even larger. But I think at this point, like we've been through so many different stages that correspond with the demise of a bubble, like the initial pullback, then the denial. And, we're still in that denial and we're like teetering on the edge of fear. And I think the thing is, it's going to be like when there really is mass layoffs, when there really is a global financial crisis, that is when you're going to see blood in the streets. And then people won't be worrying about real estate prices at that time. They'll be worrying about, am I going to have a job tomorrow? And that's where the opportunity is. So, like, now is the time to sort of prepare if you are in the situation for potential opportunities in the future, because, could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's hard to tell, but definitely like we're getting closer and closer now.
Hmm. So fear, that stage
What does
is
that
when
feel like?
everybody's basically, not willing to touch real estate, and that the sellers start putting their houses on the market because they feel like, it's going to end soon, right?
Well, yeah, and basically a lot of people are losing their homes due to job loss, financial distress, all that type of thing. I mean, you're already seeing that increase. It's
Yeah.
just not really at the level. Like, I mean, if you're a home buyer, let's say, and you're going out to buy a house, and every street you're looking at foreclosures and power of sales, you're like, you begin to take a step back and think like, what is going on in this market? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Well,
should wait. Maybe I
let's
don't need to
yeah,
offer them the price that they're asking.
so
yeah.
just my street as a little test sample, like normally there's literally no inventory in this area at all. And
Mhm.
then a little while back there became a whole bunch of inventory and it was trading and some of it was coming down off the market because it was just priced ridiculously. And now, as I'm walking around, there's nothing again. Like there's no houses for sale at all around here. Meanwhile, inventories have spiked like crazy. Like, what is
Mhm.
I don't get what the fear stage really looks like. Like, how does it look different than the last two shitty years where we have tens of thousands of pre-construction assignment deals out there that can't, move. We've got more and more cranes coming down that are not getting replaced every day. We have more and more deals that have to close that were sold at like the worst time in human history. Like what does this fear stage look like if we haven't already been in it, right? Because I mean, you put up a video of a guy lost 685,000 or something like that. If you follow Shazzy Goalie, you see like the worst case scenarios that are out there possible. But I mean,
Mhm.
if you look around, how many people, TK, do you know that have been decimated so far,
More than
right?
ever, I guess, is really the main point. More than ever, people are coming to me with issues that are
But are they getting
unsolvable.
killed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
crushed.
people who are got, just bankrupt, that I've come across in the last year. And then I've got people who are losing their homes right now, about to get crushed. And then I got people who are afraid of getting crushed and that they're calling me right now saying, let's get it on the
I'm
market.
about to get crushed.
Yeah. This is it. This is the environment that we're in. It's a totally new landscape from what I've ever worked in real estate, to be honest with you. And so, you have to be firm with people, right? Because the reality is
Yeah.
the average agent isn't trained for this, and that they're just going to sit around. They're going to go, oh, don't worry, let's just go try your price, and we can wait around a little bit. It's like no, it's like there's some problems going on right now, and if you don't get your house on the market tomorrow, Jim, the bank's going to take the house, and we got to list it at $1 million, Jim. We can't list it at 1.4. You know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like this is, you got to be like super firm with these people because honestly, they're delusional. They
Delusional.
feel like
Yeah.
there's going to be something is going to come in and save them. That's the common thread I keep hearing. They're like, well, maybe the investors are going to come. Maybe that buyer is going to see my house. Maybe my business is going to work
Denial.
out. Yeah. They have this crazy fantasy of being saved. And I'm like, no, I'm like, the bank's going to take your house like in 2 weeks. Like you got a writ of
What were you
possession already
waiting
signed.
so
Like they're
long
literally
for?
telling you, like, you move out next week if we don't help you. And they're like, well, maybe I'm like, it's like delusional. I'm like, what's going on here, guys? So you got to
Well,
be firm with
well,
people.
yeah. I mean, it sounds TK like when they actually start coming to you and they're like, shit, TK, like we need to sell this house, like otherwise we're going bankrupt in a week. Like, and they really know, and that's really what the situation is with lots of clients that you're getting, and you're even getting the banks go, hey, we need you to sell these properties as well. Then
Yeah,
yeah, we're probably in that fear stage.
we're there. Yeah, we're
So
there.
people are capitulating. They are going over the hill and crossing into fear daily with TK. That's not good.
No,
That's not
no,
good.
but it's
Yeah.
it's the reality of it, and like every market, there's challenges, and right now this is just one of the challenges that you got to fight. But there really isn't a lot of buyers, not a lot of showings,
Mm.
not a lot. No matter how low you price it, no matter how great of a property it is, no matter what it is, it's not like it was a year ago. A year ago in January, everyone thought the market was back. I was getting 200 showings in January 2024. Right
Mhm.
now, I'm lucky on a really great property in a great area. I'd be lucky to get one a day. I'd be lucky. I'd be like, wow, this is fantastic. One a
One
day.
a
Oh
day.
my gosh,
Wow.
this is what a great listing this is. But no, it's not happening.
Well, so what
Right?
do we
Wow.
do? What do we do to protect ourselves from the fear stage? Right? If
Well,
we
I
do
mean,
have
you
some money and we do have, some security and we just want to, we need to weather the storm and come out the other side. What's our move?
Yeah, I mean, you got to just patiently wait for opportunities, and if you find good opportunities and the math works out, then don't hold back. I mean, the fact is though, when you calculate a lot of the numbers, like the math just never checks out on real estate in Canada. I mean, I've done that math so many times on like every city. Like if you were putting 25% down and then you're renting it out and with your property tax and your home insurance and what you're
Yeah.
going to pay in maintenance, like you're going to lose money
You just
still.
need a job. That's
So
it. You just gotta work. If you have a job, you can afford to buy a rental property and lose $500 a month.
Well, it used to be the way to do it. You used to lose money on every month on purpose to offset your income as a professional, right? Doctors and lawyers and all the dentists, they used to buy property to lose money every month on purpose to reduce their taxes, right, on their income. It was and then the
Idiots.
day right, but then they clobbered that rule, and then the market just went to shit. I think in the late '80s, early '90s, that was a big part of that whole thing. But so is there something that could, get the ball rolling again? Because, I mean, let's be honest, there is a lot of forces at bay and in power that do not want their equity to vanish with their home value, right? Most of the politicians, I think, in this city are not renters. Maybe some of the newer ones are in rentals for whatever reason that is. But I think most of the, 40 plus year old politicians in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, basically everywhere, own something that they would love to protect that real equity, fake equity, whatever equity is sitting in that thing, and want to come up with ways to push the value or at least retain the value on a what do you call it? Nominal level,
yeah.
right? How is that not like a real true factor?
Yeah, I think it is. But it's just like I think that the bubble, I mean, it is obvious the bubble is even bigger than the government. So, like, how much influence do they really have? I mean, they could try interest only mortgages, they could push the amortizations out to 60 years, but it would all have to be subsidized by the government in some way. And the problem is, like, do you see the political appetite for that when you've got an incoming conservative administration that constantly talks about the deficit and they're going to come in and say, yeah, you know what, we're going to start spending $100 billion on subsidizing 40-year mortgages. Like, I mean, and then Canadians are also not stupid. They're going to say, well, how much more interest am I paying now? Because I mean, the 40-year mortgage was tried before, I think, by the Conservatives back in 2007, 2008 time. And then it was quickly got rid of then. And the banks don't have the appetite for any of this stuff. So it has to be subsidized by the government. And I mean, they're in so much debt because of the pandemic that how much leverage do they really have? I don't think they have a lot left, unfortunately. I think the best case scenario is you see like a cash for keys program or something like that, which I think will come. I think something like that will eventually come. I think the
Explain that to me.
banks will be get. So basically, in the US, you had the Cash for Keys program, which was actually a federal government program where the federal government was providing money in order to get people to just leave the house instead of
Put the
trying to
keys in the
hang on
mailbox.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, I mean, you had similar things going on in Alberta, actually. It was called Jingle Mail, I believe, that happened decades ago. So it's happened in Canada, believe it or not.
Did you say
But I
gigolo?
think
Yeah.
Jingle Mail.
Jingle mail. Okay, all right. Sorry.
That's what they call
That's what TK does as his
I thought
side
you said
gig. He's a
jingle.
jingle
In
mail.
in Alberta, they got a lot of jingle mails.
TK's built this
I'm
physique
pretty
to be
sure
a
that's what
jingle
it was
mail.
called.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm messing with you.
Go look it up. It's
So the
okay.
incoming conservative government, then, like, all right, so they're talking about no GST on up to
Here to the
$800,000 new homes, axe the carbon tax. You know, he's got all these big ideas. Like, is he gonna like walk into office one day? And I know he's a smart guy. He's been in politics forever, and he's got like a lot of
Yep.
budgeting experience too. So like, I know he's looked into it. But just, do you think he's gonna walk into the government one day and open the books and just be like, oh shoot, I can't do any of the things that I thought I could do?
Look at this fucking mess.
Right? Like, think about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to create a
Holy.
bunch of debt, which is exactly what I told people I wouldn't do. Like, is that not what's
Yeah.
going to happen?
Well, I mean, it's like you've got to ask the question realistically. He's going to have to cut a lot of money and find a lot of savings somewhere. So, you know, you can't do, there's always trade-offs. Like if he's taking GST off on new homes, like how are they going to cover that hole in the budget? Like, are they going to take money away from healthcare? So, you know,
What
and
about
I don't think he's
LGBTQ? What about the LGBTQ Nigerian Education Fund? Can we cut that? You think that might help?
That's racist.
yeah.
It's racist. I don't give a shit.
do
I'm
that.
a racist then. Listen, you got to cut that shit out. You got to stop sending stuff to Ukraine. You got to stop sending stuff anywhere. And we got to stop those subsidies with the cheap fucking oil and natural resources. If we're really going to do this, if we're going to really stand up against those fuckers, like we need a plan. We need somebody who's going to go, like,
the
we
refugee
have what you
programs.
need. We have what everybody fucking needs. So like,
Yeah.
get in line, motherfuckers, right? Like, we need to start
Get to work.
right? We'd start
Get to
dressing
work.
in headdresses and
Payments
walking
are
around.
payments are done. They're over. Either go back home or get a job.
All
Here we
of us
go.
should have diamond
Everyone's gotta
crested
start
Rolls
producing.
Royces. Like, we should have oil pumping in our backyards. This is crazy, right? We should be the richest nation on earth, but we got no leadership that really wants to produce that. So is Pierre the actual guy, or is he the next little puppet boy of whoever the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the next guy. Let's face it. He was housing minister in Harper's government, and why didn't he do all this stuff back then? I mean, I think we'll get there. I mean, I think the UK is closer because I look at the UK, which is where I'm from, and what's going on there. And they're much further ahead in the cycle, and they've had exactly the same thing: housing bubble burst, 2008, stagnation, high immigration for much longer than Canada. And you can see right now, like they just elected the same as a Liberal, and now like Reform, which is just a party that has emerged completely out of the blue, is really starting to come out of nowhere and could possibly actually win the next general election, which won't happen for like another 3-4 years. So I don't think Canada is really close to that, unfortunately, because the times for a lot of Canadians for the past couple of decades have actually been pretty good, especially with the real estate bubble. Like, I mean, the real estate bubble has been great for people who've owned assets in Canada. Like, they've had a great time. It's been not so great for those who haven't owned assets, but the people who have been and building businesses around that through that bubble, they made out good. Now, depending on how levered they got, they could be imploding right now, and depending on how much risk they got, could all be blowing up in their face right now as well. But it's like you have to go through quite a long period of time of an economic downturn, stagnation. And I only really think that Canada's entered that within the past 4 years. So it's got quite a long road ahead. But the thing is, that doesn't mean there's not opportunities within that and it's all doom and gloom. And I think Pierre could do some policies which are actually good. I mean, I think like the best case for Canada in the future is like Canada isn't part of the EU or any of these things. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't become part of the 51st state or whatever. But Canada could really become like a tax haven if it wanted to, because it's got the natural resources, so it can boost up the revenue there. Yeah. And it can also attract capital because it's still like a respected country despite all this stuff going on.
Like a decent legal system that you can trust and you can deal with when things go wrong, right?
Well, that's what he's tooting, right? That's what Poilievre is saying, right? Is that he wants to make it a place for businesses to come back to and do business in,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's something that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, like we've talked about, has got a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot of sacrifices that
Yeah.
have to be made in order for us to
Yeah.
get back to that point. And you don't just all of a sudden make all these changes and then the economy gets good again. This takes, his 2 terms. This is like an 8-year period of growth that it gets a lot
Yeah.
worse before it gets better. And I don't think he's
Yeah.
got the political balls to do it. It sounds like he does, but I don't buy it.
No, listen, Trudeau
Well, he's
was
not
a
honest
smooth
either.
talker. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like
Yeah.
Trudeau was a really smooth talking young guy that was like, everybody was like, oh, the fresh face and the
Weed
change.
and
Yeah,
Free
we-
weed or whatever for everybody. Legal.
Yeah.
Right. Now, okay, weed didn't work so good. Let's give them some free shrooms or legal shrooms all over the place now.
yeah.
Well,
Injection sites.
Injection sites,
Yeah.
that was a great idea. A little tent city here
Ugh.
and there, sprinkle a tent city here and there. Well, okay, so I think we've run the gamut. The only thing we didn't discuss at all, I got a great deal for you, TK. We're gonna have to sell this together. Maybe Luke will invest in it and get people together. But there's apparently gonna be some really cheap land in California soon. I don't know if you've been following that story. Holy fuck. Have you seen the
No,
fires
what's
out
going
there?
on there? Oh yeah, the
California
fires. Oh,
is
my God.
burning, bro. It's gone. It's like it was Maui'd. They Maui'd California. It is gone. Laser
Jeez.
beams, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying nothing, TK. This is not a conspiracy show, but like that place is not on Earth anymore, which is not funny. I'm not laughing, but it's fucking crazy that they keep pulling this shit and everybody thinks it's wildfires. But those are some wild
Jeez.
fucking fires out there.
Yeah, well, they always talk about California being like right on like the tectonic plates, and that eventually it would separate or at least fall into the ocean or something like that too. So I think that's the chances you take moving to California.
Yeah.
That's just, you just know what you're
Yeah.
getting into when you go out there. That's the
You know-
best part about Canada. It's like the safest place to live. It really is, and I agree with you. The potential for Canada is huge. And I think that what's going to happen is exactly what you were talking about, what's going on right now in the UK. It's actually, I thought about it last night. A new party comes in. The Green Party came in, or we're all kind of like, humming and hawing. It didn't work out. But a new
Call yourself
party
the
that
Green
comes
Party,
in,
where
right? A new
everything's
party that comes
legal
in
weed.
and just says, hey guys, all these other guys are just politicking. We're going to actually get stuff done. And you guys are all going to suffer and you're going to hate living here for a little while. But in 10 years from now, we're going to have one of the best countries in the world because of X, Y, and Z. Who's with me?
Who's with
And
me?
that would be a platform to run on.
Did you see Andrew Tate is going to be the next prime minister of the UK? Did you see that? He's running.
No.
He's fucking for real, man. It's
He is
unbelievable.
not running.
He is running. He's got a manifesto and a website, and this guy is going for it.
Yeah.
Listen, Howard
Good luck.
Stern was almost governor of New York, and Ronald Reagan was a cowboy film actor before he was president of the free world, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Trudeau had acting experience somewhere,
Blackface.
right?
Yeah.
Well, and he was a
Well,
gym
Trump
teacher or
did.
something.
I mean, he was on The Apprentice.
Yeah, Trump is a fucking showman. The guy's runs the
Schwarzenegger, we talked
circus.
about. They're talking about
Schwarzenegger,
Gretzky and all
Ventura,
that.
right? And
It's really
Jesse
just
the
a
Body.
popularity contest because at the end of the day, these guys make very little decisions on their own. Very little
yeah,
decisions
very
are
few
ever
decisions.
made
Sure.
by the president or the prime minister. There's a whole bunch of people making sure that things get done the way the party
They were
wants.
meant to, right? Well,
Yeah.
I think we have gone as far off the rails as we should for one day. We've taken
well,
a
let's
lot
ask.
of your time.
Let's ask Luke just last question, okay?
Okay, last.
Are they
question.
drones or are they from
Dior
another
bags? You can't say drones, TK. You got to say Dior bags. What? Where are you getting your info? These
What
are
are they?
Chanel
What are they?
bags.
World? What are they? Luke,
I
what's
don't
in the
even know
sky?
what you're
No,
what
in the
you
sky. Lately, there's been a lot of
He's so
sightings
busy actually
out
working.
there off the coast of California. I think Panama's
No,
probably
it's
got
New
him too.
Jersey, bro. It's all.
Oh yeah, I've
they're in New
seen,
Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah, it's probably UFOs.
It's only
Probably
been
UFOs,
since
simple.
mid-November.
There we go.
I mean, it's nothing. Yeah, UFOs, obviously. No big
Yeah.
deal. Just UFOs.
just UFOs. That's got to be what it is.
You know how funny it is? When I was in Mexico last week, we're looking outside our balcony and we're looking out in the night sky and I see this thing flying around. I'm like, oh my God, there's a fucking
They
UFO
found
right
us.
there. This is crazy.
For sure they're looking for you.
Yeah, but it was just a drone. But I mean,
Mm.
was it?
Was it just a drone?
Was it?
moving. It was moving like something I've never seen before.
You
You ever
gotta
seen a
think
drone at
now.
night? No. Well,
You got to think about these things now. I mean,
Yeah.
is it a drone or is that thing gonna just
okay. Last
laser
real
me to
question.
death?
Last real question for Luke.
That wasn't
Your
real.
channel. Where's your channel going this year? We want people to Market Mania check you out. I'm pretty sure everyone already knows you on our channel.
Everybody
but if
here
not,
does.
then definitely go and check out Market Mania on all the platforms that you can. Where's your channel going in 2025?
I have no idea. We'll find out
We'll
whether
find
it
out.
survives.
What is it? What do we call it on the way up? Do we change the name from Market Mania to something a little more positive, or are we just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
ride
it
that
might
out?
be.
What happens when the market comes
optimism.
back? Yeah, what
Market
happens when the market
optimist, hold
comes
on.
back? Do you switch ships and say, all right, that's it? Like they solved the problem 10 years from now. You're still running the channel. Pierre did a great job. We're back on track. What do you do? What do you do, Luke?
I'll be making videos about how great everything is and all these things
Moving
that you
back.
can invest in now.
That's
I
right.
don't believe you, but that's okay. I don't need to.
Well,
it's all good.
It's
all
not
good.
going to look good for a while. I don't know how long a while
It doesn't sell.
is.
It doesn't sell. Good news doesn't sell. We're too positive over here. That's our problem.
That's why
We're
we
too
have the
positive.
stupid thumbnails to rail everybody into this thing, and
We just
hopefully
have thumbnails.
get
We're
them to
all
stick around.
bark, no bite. Anyways,
All
thanks for coming, Luke. We appreciate it. Give us a little like, comment, and subscribe so we can put that out there for our social media.
No, thank you for having me.
Give us a
Appreciate it.
little like, comment, and subscribe, just like a little message to our viewers.
Beg for us,
if you don't
please.
Will
mind.
do.
No, right now.
What?
Can you record it for us now?
Oh,
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry. You
TK
can do it
is
on your
not
channel
very
too.
clear when he speaks
Yeah,
English. Try
that's okay.
French,
Yeah.
TK. Ask
okay.
him in French.
like, comment, and subscribe to this video on the Canadian Real Estate Show.
There you go.
Beautiful. That was
Like a trained
Classic. He's a
professional
pro.
who
He's a
has
pro.
50,000 subs. Awesome. All right. Well, thank
awesome.
you, sir.
Thanks for coming, Luke.
TK,
No, thank you, guys.
we solved
Auf
it this
Wiedersehen.
time. We
Auf Wiedersehen.
solved something.
Hasta luego.
Yeah.